Hello and welcome back to another episode. Welcome too to all our new followers. We had a real jump in the last few weeks and it's great to have you here with us. Today, we're going to focus on something that is very close to my heart, and that is how our core values shape our choices and the way we live. It's all about doing the right thing, especially when no one's watching. Have you ever done something and then you kind of instantly feel a bit off? Well, that is your gut telling you something important about your values, and it's probably that you haven't been true to them. By understanding our values, we can live them day to day more purposefully, and living by our values can dramatically shape the choices that we make and the impact that we have. It's about doing the right thing, even when it's tough, right? Or better still, as I said, when no one is watching. So, first up, what exactly are values? Well, they're the fundamental beliefs or principles that guide and motivate our attitudes and our actions. They help us determine what is important, what's important to me, what's important to you. They help guide our behavior. And, in essence, they serve as a criteria for evaluating our own actions from day to day. So, values will influence the choices that you make, your relationships, and especially your sense of right or wrong. Now, there's a quote that I share often, and that is that values are like fingerprints. We leave them over everything we do. Wouldn't you rather do that on purpose, not accidentally? How you communicate, what your work ethic's like, how friends and family see you. My whole business has been built on my reputation, and the foundation of that reputation, of how I'm seen in the market, is my strong values. And I've got a whole page dedicated to values on my website. They are that vital to me. And, I'm proud to say I still have clients approaching me today from my last job in recruitment that I left almost 6 years ago, wanting to work with me today. A few examples of some of the values that are more common are things like integrity, committing to honesty and ethical behavior in everything that you do, or transparency is another really nice one. Compassion, showing that empathy and kindness towards others. A common one is respect, valuing others, treating them with dignity. Responsibility, taking accountability for your actions and the impact that they have. There's so many values we can choose from, but they will be unique to you in your life where you're at right now. Freedom is a big one of mine. I get to live freely because I have my own business. I can coach the way I like. I can work the hours I like, and therefore spend time with my grandchildren. We internalize our values through our upbringing, being part of a culture. That culture could be in our community, our family, our work, and through all of our personal experiences. We're embedding them in, we're internalizing them. And they are so deeply personal to you. They can actually vary significantly from one person to another. And I'm sure you've felt that at some time. Your values are, they're like the practical standards that dictate how you operate from day to day, how you relate to others, the goals that you strive for. And one thing to note is that, as I say, your values are yours. They are you. And it's not okay to judge other people based on our values, but we do that, right? It's like, oh, I would never do that. So that's not what values are about. Other people have their own values. It's so much easier to live a peaceful life if we accept others for who they are and just focus on what we can control, our own choices and our own behavior. Have you ever felt really proud of a decision, of a choice you made? That would have been your values and action guiding you to make that choice that resonated with who you truly are. And I believe they're often, they're operating in the background, especially when we're on autopilot. Our values are subtly shaping those choices we make, often without us even realizing it. Think about how you react automatically if someone cuts into a queue that you've been waiting on. Are you proud of your behavior, Or do you feel a bit icky later and think, oh, that wasn't really me? And here's the cool part though, acting in line with your values doesn't just feel right, it actually lights up our brains. Yes, of course, I have to mention something about brains and neuroscience. So when we make choices that align with our values, our brain's reward system kicks in, dishing out some dopamine. And that's the brain's way of giving us a high five and saying, nice move, let's do that again. Now, figuring out your own values can be a little bit of a journey. It's not always clear cut, especially if you've never really thought about this before or done an exercise like this before. And also, our values can change as life evolves. So, even for those of you who have done this before, it may be timely to revisit clarifying what your goals are. Now, when I'm working with clients, I ask a number of rather deep questions to take them within and help them clarify what their values are. And I don't want to share all of those questions here because my clients do pay for premium coaching. But what you can do is think back to a recent decision you made, one that felt completely right. What was driving that feeling? Was it a commitment to honesty, compassion, or maybe fairness? Honesty and loyalty and family are some of the most common values I've seen over time. Others are fairness and kindness, and even adventure can be a value. And travel. Did you help someone in need? Do you do something brave and feel good, or even book a holiday if adventure is important to you? These are the moments that can shine a light on what really matters to you. So start to notice those things. And it could be following a choice that you've made, like to book the holiday, or it could be just you do something with or for someone and it leaves you feeling really nice inside. And pause and think, okay, what's that about? And you'll start to be able to identify the things that are really important to you. I often say when I'm working with leaders, you need to know who you are, what you stand for, and then I always add in, and what you won't stand for. And this is the sort of thing that your values will help you with. And they change over time. Like I said, a carefree 21-year-old will be very different to a 40-year-old solo parent with a mortgage and school fees to pay and hungry mouths to feed. And for those listeners who are like me, who are grandparents and focused on making sure we're abundant in our retirement years, I don't just want to be comfortable, I'd like to be abundant, thank you very much. Our values are completely different. That freedom I talked about is so much more important to me today. And I get that through being an entrepreneur, coaching my way, and dedicating that special time with my grandchildren. This is me living out my values. And that is where the rubber meets the road. If you value, let's say, creativity, you might find yourself gravitating towards opportunities that allow you to think outside the box. Or if integrity, the one I mentioned earlier, is your vibe, you might steer clear of situations that force you to compromise that value. What is it for you? And, sometimes values can pull us in different directions, or life will throw us a curveball. It's all about finding balance and making those tough calls with your values as your guide, choosing wisely when or when not to compromise. So let's talk about making those tough ethical choices, and only you'll know what they are for you. But a really quick framework, here's how I break it down. So first, spot the decision's ethical angle. What values are at play? Who might be impacted by your choice? And then really weigh your options, think it through, and go with the action that aligns best with your values. In the workplace, it's common to have situations where you've got either HR leaders or team leaders, especially right now with the complex change organizations are facing, that actually have to have conversations with people to say they've been made redundant, which is really, really tough. This is a good one for thinking, how is this person going to be impacted by the way you communicate that message? And it could be something much more simple than that for you. But After you've made your move, made your decision, done what you need to do, take a step back and take some time to reflect on the outcome. How did it measure up? Did you feel right? Because staying true to your values is just such a wonderful thing to do that does instill peace in our lives. I say it again. And it's not a one and done thing. So you've heard me on this podcast before, even with Karen last week, I was talking about lifestyle choices, and values is just another thing. It is not a one and done thing. It's a daily practice. It's a lifestyle. It's keeping a mental or even a physical checklist somewhere of what your values are until you can recite them or just know them off by heart. You know, use mindfulness, use reflection. They can be a game changer to keep you grounded and focused, especially when the pressure's on, right? Like when that person jumps in the queue in front of you and you are in a hurry and yeah, say no more. But I always encourage my clients to put their list of values up somewhere so they can see them every day. I even had one client who put them on his phone screensaver, which was just so much fun. But think about how they can flow them, how you can flow them into your day ahead. And then at the end of the day, check in, reflect, and see if you stayed true to your values today. If you are struggling to come up with your list of values, one thing you could do is Google a list of words for selecting values. There's some great stuff on there by Brene Brown, and there's a few other coaches who offer lists of words that you can then circle the ones that really feel right to you and prioritize them. Like I say, I go deeper with questions because I really think that we can get very connected to our own very unique personal values. But, try and encompass them into your day, try and reflect them at the end of the day, and maybe just start with one value that you want to dial up in your life. See how it shifts your day-to-day interactions and decisions. If you're curious about the values I stand by, head over to my website. As I said, I've got a whole page dedicated to them, and I'll pop a link in the show notes. Our values are like our personal brand. We don't hear personal brand talked about so much anymore, but it's still a thing. They show up in everything you do, so you want to make sure they count. So thanks for tuning in. There's a little bit of a download for you to think about. And here's to making choices that are true to who you are, to who you aspire to be. Have fun exploring your values. Have fun living your values and making those purposeful choices.